Have you ever been told by a friend, or perhaps read somewhere online, that having sex every day is going to make you physically weak? Or maybe you've heard the persistent, nagging warning that daily intimacy will significantly reduce your sperm count and make it impossible for you and your partner to conceive. If you've ever carried that weight of anxiety around in your head, wondering if your own intimate life is somehow working against your future health or your plans for a family, I want you to take a deep breath. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most common and frankly most frustrating myths in men's reproductive health. As Dr. Emma, I see so many men who are genuinely afraid to be intimate because they're terrified of using up their energy or damaging their fertility. But the truth is much more surprising and much more empowering than most of the advice you've likely received. Stick with me, because not only am I going to clear up these misconceptions, but I'm also going to share a perspective on fertility and male health that might completely change how you and your partner approach this part of your life. But first, we need to address the elephant in the room. Why do we believe this stuff in the first place? Think about the sheer number of myths that surround male reproductive health. I hear them every single day in my clinic. It's almost like we've created a cultural folklore around masculinity and fertility that's based more on fear than on actual biology. There's the myth that abstinence stores up power, the myth that frequent ejaculation drains a man's strength, and the persistent nagging fear that daily activity is a direct path to infertility. These aren't just harmless rumors. They're thoughts that keep thousands of men up at night, creating unnecessary stress that actually does more damage to their well-being than the act itself ever could. Most people never realize that stress, specifically the kind of performance anxiety that comes from these myths, is one of the biggest inhibitors of healthy reproductive function. And here is where things get interesting. If you're constantly worried that your body is failing you, your brain releases cortisol, and that stress hormone can actually affect your overall systemic health, including your hormonal balance. Let's get into the science, but keep it simple, because you don't need a medical degree to understand what's happening in your own body. When we talk about sperm health, we aren't talking about a limited reservoir that you slowly deplete. Your body is a factory. It is constantly producing new sperm. In fact, it's a continuous, dynamic process that takes about 72 to 90 days for a full cycle from start to finish. When you're thinking about sperm count, what we're really looking at is the concentration, the number of sperm per milliliter of fluid. Yes, if you ejaculate multiple times in a very short window, the sheer volume of fluid and the total count might temporarily dip. But, and this is the part that surprises almost every patient I talk to, your body is remarkably efficient. For a healthy man, the difference in a count from one day to the next is rarely enough to impact your fertility. I remember a consultation with a newly married man I'll call David. He and his wife had been trying to conceive for about 6 months, and they were doing exactly what they thought they were supposed to do. Having sex every single day, right on schedule, based on some online calculator. But David was so stressed about his count and so worried that he was somehow failing because they hadn't gotten a positive test yet, that he had started to develop genuine performance anxiety. He felt weak, he felt tired, and he was convinced he was running out. When he sat in my office, he was almost trembling, asking if he should stop for weeks at a time to recharge. It was heartbreaking to see a man so full of worry about a process that, in reality, is designed to be natural and resilient. He looked at me and asked, "Dr. Emma, does this mean I'm damaging my fertility permanently?" I had to reassure him that his anxiety was the only thing truly damaging his experience. What happened next in that consultation was a major turning point. We looked at his actual health markers and his sperm analysis, which was, unsurprisingly, perfectly healthy. The problem wasn't his count. The problem was his level of cortisol, the stress hormone. By trying to force a daily schedule as a chore, he was essentially putting himself in a state of chronic, low-level panic. We talked about how the body prioritizes survival over reproduction. When you are stressed, your body doesn't know you're just worried about a fertility myth. It only knows that you are in a state of high alarm. So, we shifted the focus. I told David to stop treating their intimate life like a lab experiment and to start treating it like a relationship again. He needed to stop worrying about the count and start focusing on the quality of their connection. But wait until you hear what happened when they stopped tracking everything on a calendar. The relief alone changed their entire dynamic. This is where the science of timing comes in. If you're a couple trying to conceive, you've probably heard about the fertile window. This is the time around ovulation when the chances of pregnancy are at their absolute peak. And here is a piece of advice I give all my patients. Don't save it up. Another common myth is that abstinence for a week before the fertile window improves the odds. In reality, the best quality sperm is usually seen when there has been regular, but not excessive, ejaculation. Regular activity keeps the pipeline clear, if you will, and ensures that the sperm you are producing is fresh. Think of it like this. If you leave a storage tank stagnant for too long, the contents don't necessarily get better, they age. Regular movement and turnover is actually beneficial for motility. But here is where things get interesting. What if you aren't trying to conceive? What if you're just a couple in your 20s or 30s who enjoys being intimate every day? Should you be worried about your health or your strength? Absolutely not. The idea that ejaculation makes a man weak is a leftover piece of outdated, non-scientific cultural baggage. Think about it. The body is a self-regulating system. If you engage in daily intimacy, your body responds by continuing its production process. It doesn't run dry. It doesn't permanently lower your sperm count. As long as you are getting adequate sleep, eating a balanced diet, and managing your stress, your body is perfectly capable of maintaining its health. In fact, many men find that regular, healthy intimacy is actually a stress reliever that helps them sleep better and feel more connected to their partner, which in turn leads to better overall health. It's a holistic cycle. Wait until you hear the mistake I see most often in these scenarios. It's the pressure cooker effect. A couple decides to conceive, they turn intimacy into a strict daily duty, and suddenly the spontaneity is gone. The pressure of the goal replaces the comfort of the connection. And then, when it doesn't happen in the first 2 months, the doubt sets in. They start thinking, something is wrong with my sperm, or daily sex must be the problem. When in reality, pregnancy is a complex biological process that takes time even for perfectly healthy, fertile couples. It's important to give yourself grace. If you've been trying for over 12 months and haven't seen results, that is the moment to see a specialist. Not because you've depleted yourself, but to get a clear medical picture of your reproductive health. That's how a confident, proactive man approaches his health. And I'll explain exactly what those specialists look for in a moment, because it's probably not what you think. Let's bust another myth. The idea that more abstinence equals better quality. This is something I hear in the office all the time. Dr. Emma, I'm going to skip this for a week to make sure everything is perfect for the weekend. Actually, if sperm stays in the reproductive tract for too long, it can start to age. Motility, the ability of the sperm to swim and reach its destination, can actually decrease if the sperm is held in reserve for too long. So the recharging myth is actually counterproductive in many cases. Regularity is your friend. It's a sign of a healthy, active reproductive system, not a sign of depletion. And while we're talking about health, let's consider what happens to someone like Mark, another patient of mine. He was a 32-year-old athlete who worried that his intense training and daily intimacy were somehow neutralizing each other. He was terrified his sperm health was declining because he felt physically exhausted. What I discovered with Mark was that it wasn't the daily intimacy, it was his nutrition. He was working out hard, being intimate regularly, but his caloric intake and his sleep were non-existent. When we fixed his protein intake and ensured he was getting 8 hours of sleep, his energy skyrocketed, and his concerns about his reproductive health vanished. This is the mistake most people make. They blame the intimacy for the fatigue, when the fatigue is actually caused by a fundamental lack of support for their own body. You have to feed the engine if you're going to drive the car every day. What about stamina? Many men worry that daily activity will make them tired, less motivated, or physically weaker. Again, let's look at the reality. If you feel tired after intimacy, are you sure it's the intimacy? Or could it be your lack of sleep, your high-stress job, or your lack of physical exercise? I've watched patients improve their stamina and energy levels not by stopping their intimate lives, but by fixing their sleep schedules, starting a consistent exercise routine, and improving their nutrition. When you treat your body like an athlete, you perform like an athlete. Intimacy is a part of that health, not an enemy of it. And this leads us to something I see very frequently, the fear of weakness. Men often ask me, Dr. Emma, will I lose my edge? The edge you lose is the one caused by the stress of worrying about it, not the edge caused by being a healthy, intimate man. I remember another couple, let's call them Sarah and Mike. They were a bit older, in their late 30s, and were struggling with the pressure of conception. Mike was so worried that his daily performance was impacting his health that he became completely withdrawn. He stopped exercising, he started eating poorly, and he became obsessed with saving his energy. He was doing the exact opposite of what he needed. When we started working together, we focused on bringing his confidence back through movement, better nutrition, and crucially, normalizing their intimate life again. He realized that his body was far more resilient than he'd been led to believe. He was back to his strong, healthy self within months, and they were much happier in their relationship. The shift was almost entirely psychological, backed by small, consistent lifestyle changes. Most people don't realize this, but the mental health aspect of this is massive. When you treat your reproductive health as a source of constant worry, you are essentially training your brain to see intimacy as a stressor. And when intimacy is a stressor, your libido drops, your pleasure drops, and your overall confidence takes a hit. It's a vicious cycle. The best way to break it is to replace the fear with facts. The fact is, you are designed for this. Your body is a reproductive powerhouse that is constantly renewing itself. But what if you are doing everything right and you still have concerns? That's where the doctor-patient relationship becomes vital. I've had many consultations where a man thinks he has a fertility issue, only to find out it's an easily treatable hormonal imbalance or a thyroid issue. You wouldn't ignore a pain in your knee, so why ignore a concern about your reproductive system? If you are experiencing any difficulties, whether it's with your libido, with your ability to maintain performance, or if you've been trying to conceive for a long time, please don't fall down the rabbit hole of internet forums. There is so much misinformation out there that can lead you toward expensive, ineffective, or even dangerous quick fixes. If you have a concern, speak with a urologist or a fertility specialist. They are the ones who can provide you with a real medical assessment. That is the only way to get true peace of mind. Knowing your own numbers, knowing your own health, is the ultimate form of male confidence. And let me tell you, there is nothing more empowering than walking out of a clinic knowing exactly where you stand and what you can do to optimize your health. Consider Emily and James, a couple who came to see me recently. They were so overwhelmed by the trying to conceive process that they had stopped talking to each other about anything other than ovulation calendars. It was like their entire relationship had become a biological project. When I told them to take a break from the calendars and just focus on their connection, they were initially terrified. They thought they were wasting time. But within 2 months of just relaxing and being a couple again, they were pregnant. It wasn't magic. It was just the removal of the chronic cortisol spiking stress that was interfering with their body's natural rhythm. Think about this for a moment. You have been told for years that you need to optimize everything. But what if the optimization is actually preventing the outcome? It's a common paradox. When you try to control a biological process so tightly, you often introduce the very stress that halts it. Your reproductive system is tied closely to your nervous system. If you're living in a state of high alert, your reproductive system often goes into a maintenance mode. This is why I always encourage my patients to prioritize their lifestyle first. Better sleep, cleaner food, meaningful movement, and less data tracking often does more for your fertility than any specific trick ever could. I want to end this by speaking to the guys who are out there feeling the pressure. You are enough. Your body is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. If you and your partner are enjoying a healthy, regular, intimate life, you are not doing anything wrong. You aren't weakening yourself, you aren't depleting your future, and you aren't doing damage. You are living a normal, healthy human life. If you're trying to conceive, keep communicating, stay healthy, and give yourselves the time and the patience you deserve. The stress of the trying period is hard enough without the added burden of believing these myths. Your body is resilient, it is capable, and it is on your side. So let me ask you, what's the biggest fertility myth you were taught growing up? Was it the idea of saving your energy or something else? Drop a comment below and share it, because I guarantee you that there are hundreds of other men reading these comments who have been worried about the exact same thing. It helps all of us to know we're in this together. It breaks the stigma, it dissolves the fear, and it creates a healthier environment for everyone. And if you've enjoyed this conversation, if you appreciate having an honest, evidence-based, and friendly space to talk about these things, please subscribe and join the Dr. Emma family. We're here to support you, to educate you, and to keep the conversation going about what it really means to live a healthy, connected life. Always remember, your health is your greatest asset. Stay curious, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.